What if I told you that beneath one of America's most visited natural wonders lies a secret so extraordinary that the government has allegedly spent over a century keeping it hidden from the public? A discovery so profound that it could rewrite human history as we know it. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most controversial archaeological mysteries of our time, the Grand Canyon's lost city. But before we descend into this rabbit hole of ancient civilizations and government cover-ups, let me ask you something. Have you ever stood at the rim of the Grand Canyon and wondered what secrets those layered walls of rock might be hiding? What if those shadows dancing across the canyon walls aren't just tricks of light, but glimpses of something far more incredible? In 1909, the Arizona Gazette published an article that would spark one of the most enduring mysteries in American archaeology. The headline read simply, but the implications were staggering: Explorations in Grand Canyon. What followed was a story so incredible that many dismissed it as fiction. Others believed it was the discovery of the century, systematically buried by powerful institutions. The story begins with G.E. Kinkaid, a seasoned explorer and archaeologist who claimed to have made an extraordinary discovery while conducting a solo expedition along the Colorado River. According to the newspaper account, Kinkaid had stumbled upon a cave system so vast and elaborate that it defied everything scientists thought they knew about ancient North American civilizations. Picture this scene, if you will. It's early spring, 1909. The canyon walls tower above as Kinkaid navigates his small boat through the churning waters of the Colorado River. The sun casts long shadows across the red rock formations, creating an almost otherworldly atmosphere. Suddenly, something catches his eye. High up on the canyon wall, partially hidden by centuries of weathering and vegetation, there's an opening. Not just any opening, but one that seems deliberately crafted, carved with precision that suggests human hands. What Kinkaid claimed to have found inside that cave would challenge everything historians believed about pre-Columbian America. According to the Arizona Gazette report, the cave system extended for miles into the canyon wall, featuring elaborate chambers, corridors, and what appeared to be a sophisticated underground city. But here's where the story takes a turn that would make even the most seasoned conspiracy theorist pause. The artifacts Kinkaid allegedly discovered weren't Native American in origin. They were something else entirely. Stone tablets covered in hieroglyphics that bore striking similarities to ancient Egyptian writing, statues and carvings that seemed to depict Buddhist and Hindu deities, weapons and tools crafted from materials not native to North America. If true, these findings would suggest that ancient civilizations from across the ocean had not only reached the Americas thousands of years before Columbus, but had established permanent settlements in the heart of what is now the United States. But wait, there's more to this story that makes it even more intriguing. According to the newspaper account, Kinkaid didn't work alone. He was allegedly working under the direction of the Smithsonian Institution, specifically with Professor S.A. Jordan. The report claimed that the Smithsonian had taken over the excavation and was conducting a full-scale archaeological investigation of the site. Now, here's where things get really interesting, and where our modern mystery truly begins. When researchers and curious individuals started investigating this story decades later, they hit a wall that was more impenetrable than the canyon's own rock formations. The Smithsonian Institution has consistently denied any knowledge of G.E. Kinkaid, Professor S.A. Jordan, or any such excavation in the Grand Canyon. No records exist in their archives, no photographs, no artifacts, no documentation whatsoever. This denial has only fueled speculation and conspiracy theories that continue to this day. Why would the Smithsonian deny such a significant discovery? What could be so threatening about ancient artifacts that would require such an elaborate cover-up? The questions multiply like echoes bouncing off canyon walls, each one more haunting than the last. To understand why this story has captured imaginations for over a century, we need to examine what was happening in American archaeology in 1909. This was an era of spectacular discoveries and fierce competition between institutions and explorers. The American West was still revealing its secrets, and there was tremendous pressure to make groundbreaking finds that would secure funding and prestige. The early 20th century was also a time when racial theories about civilization and human development were deeply entrenched in academic thinking. The idea that advanced civilizations could have existed in pre-Columbian America challenged prevailing narratives about indigenous peoples and the supposed superiority of European civilization. A discovery like the one Kinkaid claimed would have turned these theories upside down. Consider the implications for a moment. If ancient Egyptians or other advanced civilizations had indeed established settlements in North America thousands of years ago, it would mean that the history taught in schools was fundamentally incomplete. It would suggest that global trade and exploration networks existed in antiquity that were far more sophisticated than previously imagined. It would challenge the very foundation of how we understand human migration and cultural development. But let's step back from speculation and examine what we actually know. The Arizona Gazette was a legitimate newspaper, and the article about Kinkaid's discovery was published as a factual news report. The writing style and format were consistent with other archaeological reporting of the era. The level of detail provided about the cave system and artifacts was extensive and specific, not the vague generalizations you might expect from a hoax. However, there are troubling inconsistencies in the story that skeptics point to as evidence of fabrication. The descriptions of the cave system are so elaborate and extensive that it seems unlikely such a massive archaeological site could remain completely hidden for over a century. The alleged involvement of the Smithsonian, while lending credibility to the story, also makes the subsequent denial more puzzling. Modern researchers have attempted to locate the cave described in the original article using the geographical clues provided in the 1909 report. The article mentions specific locations along the Colorado River and describes landmarks that should be identifiable today. Despite numerous expeditions and searches, no one has definitively located the entrance to Kinkaid's cave system. This brings us to one of the most intriguing aspects of the entire mystery: the geography of the Grand Canyon itself. The canyon is enormous, stretching 277 river miles, with countless side canyons, alcoves, and cave systems. Much of the canyon remains unexplored, and new discoveries are made regularly. The National Park Service estimates that there are over 1,000 caves within the park boundaries, with many yet to be fully explored or documented. The Grand Canyon's geological history spans nearly 2 billion years, creating layer upon layer of rock that tells the story of ancient seas, deserts, and climate changes. Within these layers, it's entirely possible that cave systems exist that could have provided shelter for ancient people. Archaeological evidence has confirmed that indigenous people lived in and around the canyon for thousands of years, creating dwellings, storage areas, and ceremonial sites within the canyon's protective walls. But here's where the conspiracy theories really begin to take hold. Why would the government want to suppress evidence of ancient advanced civilizations in North America? One theory suggests that such discoveries would undermine the justification for European colonization and the displacement of indigenous people. If it could be proven that sophisticated civilizations existed in the Americas long before European contact, it would challenge the narrative of Europeans bringing civilization to a primitive continent. Another theory proposes that the discovery contained evidence of technologies or knowledge that powerful institutions wanted to keep secret. Imagine if the artifacts included advanced engineering techniques, astronomical knowledge, or even technologies that seemed impossible for their time period. Such discoveries might be seen as too disruptive to release to the public. The role of the Smithsonian Institution in these conspiracy theories cannot be ignored. As America's premier museum and research institution, the Smithsonian has tremendous influence over what archaeological discoveries receive official recognition and public attention. Critics argue that the institution has a history of suppressing findings that don't fit established historical narratives. There are documented cases of the Smithsonian losing or misplacing significant archaeological specimens, though whether this represents systematic suppression or simple institutional mismanagement is a matter of debate. The institution handles millions of artifacts and specimens, and it's not uncommon for items to be misfiled, stored in remote warehouses, or simply forgotten over time. But let's consider another possibility entirely. What if the story of G.E. Kinkaid and the lost city beneath the Grand Canyon was deliberately created as a distraction or disinformation campaign? The early 1900s were a time of growing interest in ancient mysteries and lost civilizations, fueled by archaeological discoveries in Egypt and other parts of the world. Perhaps someone recognized the public's fascination with such stories and crafted an elaborate tale that would capture imaginations and sell newspapers. The timing of the story is also interesting from a historical perspective. In 1909, the Grand Canyon had recently been designated as a national monument, bringing increased attention and tourism to the area. A story about mysterious discoveries in the canyon would certainly generate public interest and potentially boost tourism revenue. However, dismissing the story entirely as a hoax raises its own questions. Why would someone create such an elaborate and detailed fabrication? The original article includes specific measurements, descriptions of artifacts, and even mentions of ongoing excavations. If it was fiction, it was remarkably well-researched and convincingly presented fiction. Modern technology offers new possibilities for investigating this century-old mystery. Ground-penetrating radar, satellite imaging, and other advanced tools could potentially locate hidden cave systems that match the descriptions in the original article. Several research teams have attempted to use these technologies to search for evidence of Kinkaid's discovery, but the results have been inconclusive. The National Park Service, which now manages the Grand Canyon, maintains strict controls over archaeological research within the park. All excavations and explorations must be approved and supervised by park archaeologists. This regulatory framework, while designed to protect archaeological resources, also means that any significant discoveries would be subject to official oversight and potentially subject to the same institutional pressures that conspiracy theorists claim suppress the original finding. Let's examine some of the specific claims made in the original 1909 article. The cave system was described as being located on the east wall of the canyon, approximately 42 miles upriver from El Tovar. The entrance was said to be about 1,486 feet down from the canyon rim, accessible only by rope or specialized climbing equipment. These specific details provide a roadmap for modern searchers, yet none have definitively located the site. The artifacts described in the article paint a picture of a sophisticated ancient civilization with connections to multiple world cultures. Stone tablets with hieroglyphic writing, copper tools and weapons, granaries containing seeds, pottery, and even mummified remains. If genuine, these artifacts would represent one of the most significant archaeological discoveries in North American history. The description of the cave system itself is equally extraordinary. Multiple levels connected by corridors, chambers large enough to hold thousands of people, ventilation systems, and evidence of sophisticated engineering. The article describes passages extending for miles into the canyon wall, creating an underground city capable of housing a substantial population. One of the most intriguing aspects of the story is the alleged connection to ancient Egyptian and Asian cultures. The hieroglyphic writing, the statues depicting what appeared to be Buddha, and other cultural artifacts suggest contact between ancient American civilizations and the Old World thousands of years before such contact was thought possible. This possibility isn't as far-fetched as it might initially seem. Archaeological evidence has confirmed that ancient people were capable of remarkable ocean voyages thousands of years ago. Polynesian navigators crossed vast stretches of the Pacific Ocean using sophisticated knowledge of currents, stars, and weather patterns. Viking explorers reached North America centuries before Columbus. So why couldn't other ancient civilizations have made similar journeys? Recent discoveries have challenged traditional timelines of human migration and cultural contact. Archaeological sites like Göbekli Tepe in Turkey have revealed sophisticated construction techniques dating back over 11,000 years. Underwater archaeology has uncovered evidence of ancient cities and harbors now submerged beneath rising sea levels. Each new discovery expands our understanding of what ancient people were capable of achieving. The genetic evidence is equally compelling. DNA studies of ancient remains have revealed complex patterns of migration and contact between distant populations. Native American populations show genetic markers that suggest contact with Asian and even European populations at much earlier dates than previously thought possible. But let's return to the specific mystery of the Grand Canyon and consider what evidence would be needed to resolve this century-old question. First and foremost, the actual discovery of the cave system described in the original article would provide definitive proof. Even if the cave contained no artifacts, finding the location would validate at least part of Kinkaid's story. Second, the discovery of any artifacts matching the descriptions in the 1909 article would provide crucial evidence. Modern dating techniques could determine the age of such artifacts and potentially trace their origins. Chemical analysis could reveal whether materials came from local sources or were imported from distant locations. Third, documentation from the Smithsonian or other institutions acknowledging the discovery would provide official confirmation. Such documentation might exist in private collections, forgotten archives, or institutional records that haven't been fully cataloged. The absence of such evidence doesn't necessarily disprove the story, but it does make verification extremely difficult. The burden of proof remains with those who claim the discovery was genuine and subsequently covered up. As we near the end of our investigation into this fascinating mystery, it's worth considering what the Grand Canyon story tells us about ourselves and our relationship with the past. Whether the lost city beneath the canyon is real or fictional, it represents our deep desire to believe that there are still great mysteries to be discovered, that the official version of history might be incomplete, and that extraordinary secrets might be hidden in plain sight. The Grand Canyon itself remains one of the most mysterious and awe-inspiring places on Earth. Every year, new archaeological discoveries are made within its boundaries, revealing more about the ancient people who called this spectacular landscape home. While these discoveries may not match the extraordinary claims of the 1909 article, they continue to expand our understanding of ancient American civilizations. Perhaps the real treasure isn't a lost city filled with golden artifacts and ancient tablets, but rather the ongoing process of discovery itself. Each new piece of evidence we uncover about the past helps us better understand our place in the grand story of human civilization. The mystery of G.E. Kinkaid and the lost city beneath the Grand Canyon may never be definitively solved. The evidence is too fragmentary, the claims too extraordinary, and the passage of time too great to allow for certain conclusions. But that uncertainty is precisely what makes the story so compelling. In our age of instant information and Google Earth satellite imagery, the idea that major discoveries could remain hidden seems almost impossible. Yet the Grand Canyon reminds us that the Earth still holds secrets, that vast areas remain unexplored, and that the next great discovery might be just around the corner, or perhaps deep beneath the surface of one of our most beloved national treasures. So the next time you stand at the rim of the Grand Canyon and gaze into those mile-deep shadows, remember that you're looking at more than just geological formations and scenic beauty. You're looking at layers of time itself, at mysteries that span millions of years, and perhaps at secrets that remain hidden from history. Whether G.E. Kinkaid's lost city exists or not, the Grand Canyon continues to challenge our understanding of the past and inspire our imagination about what wonders might still be waiting to be discovered. The truth, like the Colorado River at the bottom of the canyon, continues to flow somewhere far beneath the surface, carving its own path through the landscape of mystery and time.